Hello, I'm Anna Olsen. Thank you for listening to A1R Radio. Welcome to Insights into Consciousness. My website at the bottom of the screen, AnnaOlsenIntuitive.com. You can see me on iHeartRadio, Spotify. You just search for Insights into Consciousness, Anna Olsen, A1R. Any of those will work. It's the number one. And I wanted to go over something that I'm really excited about. There's some news today that I wanted to give everybody, and that is that HBO, and we don't have a time frame yet. We don't have an exact date, which is kind of unfortunate, but there's a new HBO prequel to Practical Magic coming out. It's a 1-hour drama series based on Alice Hoffman's own prequel of the same name. So she did the book Practical Magic, and then she went on to do a prequel, which is going to be really fun to catch. I'm hoping it's good, and they don't have an exact time frame, but I'm willing to go in and get on to HBO just to see if I can watch this and see if I like it. So that's really, really exciting for me. And I know that a lot of other people have been really excited about that. Also, the moon is in Virgo now. So we're going to talk about the planets just a little bit. That the planets, there's going to be some other planets that are going to follow too. I don't go into too much detail on it because then it would take up the whole show to do all of that. So there's going to be a lot of planets in Virgo that's, as a Virgo, I was going to what are my traits? Well, one of them is that, there's a lot of attention to details. So this might be a good idea to go in and organize, or maybe kind of look at what it is you really want to focus on and get clear about your intentions, because this is a time about clarity and kind of perfecting and getting into the detail of what it is that you want to manifest, or what it is exactly that you would like to really bring into your life and attract to your space, to your energy, and to your surroundings. So this is something that we get to focus on because we're all going to be dealing with those Virgo traits pretty soon with the planetary alignments and the moon currently. So that's the moon right now and the planets. I wanted to also go over something that I just recently taught a student that I'm teaching one-on-one, and that is tea leaf readings. So tea leaf readings, it's surprising to me how many people are not aware of tea leaf readings, that they exist, or the history behind them, how to do them. I did one with my student. It was a lot of fun. We took some pictures and we followed a couple of diagrams to see if those resonated with us. You can go online and see if there are diagrams that you can really align with that make sense to you. So in addition, the way you start a tea leaf reading, and these were done back in Europe, way back in the day. So you grab some loose tea and you put it in, your hot water. You let it steep for a bit. You're going to have the person who's getting the reading done drink it, and leave about a tablespoon of that tea in the bottom where all the loose tea is. You're going to grab the saucer. So you're going to need a cup and a saucer. The bigger the cup, the better. And you just put the saucer on top of the cup. Turn it over so that everything falls out into the saucer. Turn the cup over and look into the cup. Now, these loose tea leaves, what they do are these little segments and these little pieces of this tea leaf will land at different parts of the cup, adjacent to where the handle of the cup is. So you'll be holding it, and when you look down into the cup, there's going to be a lot of different diagrams. You use your intuition. You see what it is that you see in the cup. Now, you can see, the last time I saw distinctly a fairy, it looked just like a fairy. This little tea leaf kind of curled up into a shape, looked just like a fairy on the end of a flower stem, a stem that went straight into a flower and a fairy on the flower. It was huge. I took pictures of it. It was very clear to both of us. So I wrote it down, and then I showed her and I said, what did you see? I didn't tell her what I saw. And I didn't let her see what I wrote down on my paper. She said, oh my gosh, I see a fairy on a flower on a stem. So you'll notice when you're doing a reading that two people will oftentimes get the exact same thing. And they'll see the exact same things. So when I've done readings like this, and I've waited for the person to tell me what they saw, I already had in mind what I saw, and it matched what they saw. So intuition is intuition. Spirit is spirit. Spirit will give us the same message. It continues through readers over years. It's truth is truth, and the accurate, true information through readings and through spirit is always accurate, always true, and always the same. Especially when everybody present is on the same frequency, vibe, level of positivity. So the really cool thing about tea leaf readings, the history behind them. Now, back in the day, centuries ago, many practitioners couldn't do readings because they'd be burned at the stake. They'd have to do these incognito. So what they would do is they would go to a public place to have tea. And the reader would meet with the client and would do a full tea leaf reading, looking like they were, just out in public having a cup of tea. So this originated kind of in Britain, Europe areas where they still do a whole lot of tea time, and they, will sit together and sip on their tea. So even like if their husbands came home, or someone's husband came home, or their children came home, or the parents walked into the home, they'd be just sitting at the table having their tea. Now, when we go back into time, there's a lot of different ways that people did other readings to stay incognito as well. Loose tea leaf readings are just one of those many types. So there's diagrams that will show you what means what in the cup. So the very bottom round part of the cup will mean, like the distant future, or the meaning of the entire reading, or kind of like the whole synapse of the reading will be the very, very bottom of the cup. The next level up, like if you were to imagine the cup having liquid at the bottom and filling it up to like the first 1/3 of the cup, that would be the distant future. If you filled it up to the next 1/3 of the layer of the cup with liquid, then that whole layer that liquid would also take up, the next 1/3 of the cup. Right along the middle would be the near future, and then the very top layer just before the lip of the cup would be the nearest future, or the next week or two, that again, weeks, and then the very, very top is the present. So then around the handle part, dipping all the way down to the bottom of the cup, you would have different meanings to where the leaves fall there. It's all put in exactly the right place. And of course, everybody likes to use different diagrams, because when we do readings, readers are all very unique, and we find what works for us. So we may even mix this with something, like a card, or you could mix this reading with, card reading tarot. You could do angel tarot. You could do oracle cards, anything that you feel drawn to. But basically, the loose tea leaf reading is the most rare. It's not what most readers do. The people who do them are kind of special and unique, and most of the time they will have a visual or photogenic memory, because they really need to see things visually, and they learn best or read best with pictures or things that are visual that way. So it's a really fun way to have a reading. If you ever come across, a place or somebody who does them, it might be kind of fun to have it done, because you can see how they can look at the tea leaves and how they create different shapes. Sometimes like dashes will mean one thing, or a spiral will mean something else. And something that looks like an airplane may mean travel, for instance. So everything means something with the tea leaves. And it's a really fun way to get a reading, and sometimes even practice yourself. If you wanted to, meditate and ground and really shield and protect and clear your mind and have a cup of tea and look in your teacup and see what you can find. It can be kind of fun just to practice and see what you get. It's fun either way. So on to what I want to do today. I'd like to do a universal reading. And what that is it's a reading where I take out the cards and I will start doing a reading for the universal consciousness. I am in California. However, the universal readings account for everyone. We are all affected by, as the world, a planet. If you think of the planet as a homeopathic entity. And if you think of the world as perhaps having its own spirit or its body and spirit as well, we would be part of its body in a way where we work together and we make up what the world is made of. In a way that we all have a purpose to drive the earth. So we all must have a singular consciousness, a universal consciousness that is tied together. So we can go into a lot of studies and a lot of experiences with people where they have realized that when something happens that is a crisis in the world, that many people, especially the empaths around the world, will feel it before they even get the news brief. So we are all connected. We all have the same connection to the same source and the same, God had the same spirit. And yes, we can connect and disconnect at will, but basically a reading for universal consciousness or purpose will be for anyone. So I'm basically doing a reading on my viewers as well. And if it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. You're on another frequency. If it does resonate with you, then that part of the reading is for you. So I just get what I hear, what I have coming through, and what I see. And I do use the cards because it's a nice visual cue for me to focus on, just to kind of aid in not being distracted, like squirrel. So that's my way of, the cards really help me to focus and to meditate on the message being received through spirit. Now I'm shuffling now and I'm just asking the guides and angels what it is in spirit, what it is that we need right now is universal consciousness. And the first thing that I'm getting is that we'll do mind, body, and spirit. So I will draw a card that will represent the mind, our minds, and what's going on with our consciousness, with what we're thinking. What are your thoughts? What are those thoughts doing? What is the purpose for those thoughts? Thoughts are very powerful, and all creation begins with a thought and the power of the word, because most thoughts also include words. And words are the basis of many, many creations, including the beginning, if you go back in the Bible, the beginning of the world, the beginning of the entire world, and all of the atmosphere and the water was the power of the word. So the thing that I am looking at here is the moon. So I'm getting the number 18. And I'm getting the moon. So it's basically a card depicting that masculinity is going to be taking a front seat right now in a way of logistics and order. Now, it's going to, now I'm seeing the moon and I'm seeing this logistics and this masculine energy sort of surrounding the moon and keeping it in its place. That, really what I'm getting is that in the mind, the feminine energy, and we as women, we do better working with men peacefully, with allowing their logical mind, their ways of doing things to come into our world and to really take it seriously and to consider what men are saying in our lives. So when we have all these wonderful men in our lives who are putting in their 2 cents, or they want to give an opinion, or, when we have something that we're dealing with and we just want to vent, well, what if there's something they can suggest that will actually make our situation better? There's so much in psychology that goes towards, well, women just want to vent and talk about something emotional and be emotional for a while, and that's fine, but can't we too also, after we vent, ask them what they think and what they would do, and then actually take it seriously and do it? I don't see anything wrong with that. I see everything right with that. And that's what I'm seeing here, with things being so driven by women just acting emotionally, which is definitely half of the whole. But we have 2 halves to this whole. Half of that is the masculinity, and I know that right now we have a president that is a little bit strong-minded, to say the least. He is very opinionated. He has done and said some things that make women feel unsafe. But we have to remember that we do need the good men, and we need the men who are on our side, and the men who are trying to help, who love us, who are defending their families, and who have a lot to contribute. And we need to accept what they contribute, and we need to take it seriously and love them and be gentle and kind to them. And if we're having a bad day, say, I'm having a bad day, this has nothing to do with you, because men internalize. And when the male higher consciousness internalizes too much and is overwhelmed, what happens is the planet gets sick and our men check out. We need that masculine balancing energy to balance out the feminine. It's good to have the feminine, yes, but it's also good to have the masculine in balance. This doesn't mean let them rule your life or take over your life or abuse you. I would never say that. But at the same time, we need to be careful about how we're making men feel, and to really, really pay attention to what's going on with them and to allow them to do their part. I'm going to give a brief description of this card, the moon card, and I'm going to show it on screen because I know that some people are just listening to the show as well, not seeing the screen. But it is a moon. It's a picture of a moon with a rather mechanical device around it with something that looks basically like a clock attached to it, and it has different little keys attached to that. There is a crab that probably would represent Cancer, 2 wolves. Masculine and feminine is in balance here, but there's definitely more of the masculine energy involved. So yes, it's depicting basically the moon, but this is what I'm seeing as a masculine energy. And I'm going to just hold up this card so that viewers can see the card. You have the moon, and then you have all of these more logic. I see these other items on the card as being very masculine, and the timing, the science, all the mechanics. If you think about men working under the hood or having their tool sets and things like that, not that women don't, but that is a masculine energy thing. So even when women do it, that's a masculine energy. So for mind, I'm definitely getting the balance of the masculine and feminine. Don't let masculinity scare you. Don't let masculinity piss you off. Don't let masculinity, we have to work together, and we have to, whether it's a woman with masculine energy or it's a man in your life, but I'm getting this is much more men, sons, making sure they feel respected, heard, making sure that, we nurture them. I'm really getting that it's important for us to make sure that we nurture them. Our issues as women, it doesn't mean that it's every man. And that if we've been hurt by men, we need to understand their energy more. So I think it's better to seek to understand them and the masculine energy more than to reject or block it and act or pretend as though we don't need it. We do. We all need it. The earth needs it. The universe needs it, both masculine and feminine. I'm seeing a little bit of a tip towards the feminine a little more right now, and that can be messy. It does throw things off. So think of the sun and the moon and how they work together. The moon is the female or the feminine. The sun is the masculine. We need both. The moon does not shine without the masculine energy of the sun. It does not work. It has to be both, and it has to be a balance or things go wrong. Women need the protection of the masculine. It's a fact. So that's what I wanted to reiterate about the moon and the masculinity. So the second will be body. Now, this is really a wonderful card that I got for the body. I got the Lovers, and this just came up. I didn't pick it myself. I didn't look at it and pull it out. It is what I pulled. Now, the number for this is 6. So when we have the card for the Lovers, again, I'm seeing the masculine and feminine needing to connect. This doesn't mean like absolutely you have to have male-female relationship. I'm talking about masculinity and femininity in whatever human being it just happens to reside in. So it could be male-male, could be female-female, could be female-male. It could be masculine-female with a feminine male. It doesn't have to look a certain way that way, but I do feel, again, that this is depicting that the body, we need to respect that each sex has, I guess this is all about men and women in relationships. I know that I'm just going to like talk about how I just spoke with my mother about her clients, how she's realizing during her trainings. She's a therapist. She's a therapist in psychology, so she counsels people. And she was telling me that she went to her continuing education credit classes and things like that. And the new research is showing a very low in the 20s success rate of marriages currently in the United States. So originally we thought it was 75, then we thought it was 50, and now it's looking to be more like it's in the 20s, 23, 28 was what I think I remember her saying. I know it was in the 20s, but she thought it was not correct because it was so low, that these marriages are succeeding at a 23 to 28% level of success. And the 50% only represented the people who were legally married, not the people who were still legally married but separated. So we're looking at a big discord in marriages and with people being able to cohabitate and to get along. I'm seeing that we, with the body, we need to be respectful of the other person's space. So men need to not be controlled. Women need to be respected, revered, cherished, and loved. And, women need to hear a lot of compliments about not just their appearance, but what they can do and what you appreciate about them. And, I feel like we really need to respect the differences of men and women, masculine and feminine energy, that they're not the same. It's like living with an alien, and we have to accept that. We just have to cohabitate and really try to work through these differences, because what happens when we don't work through our differences, we don't learn anything. And then life gets harder, and then it's more uncomfortable. It could be more comfortable in the interim. And of course, this isn't including abusive relationships or something. I mean, if somebody is being violent, of course, that's a different story. This is more about healthier relationships with some discord on things, with things that can be worked out. I'm oftentimes surprised in my readings when I'm talking to people at what they don't want to put up with or work out with someone, something that is easily worked out with some work, some just allowing things to change or allowing things to go their way, the other person's way for a bit. When I hear somebody complaining about, they left their whatever I'm like, really? We're going to worry about this? So, there's bigger fish to fry. There are other things for us to worry about. We need to grow up in our relationships. We need to be more basically drawn towards what's really important in life. What if this person wasn't here tomorrow? What would we do and say today to make their life good? What would we do and say today to have no regrets with this person? I'm going to do a close-up real quick of the Lovers. I have like 4 minutes left. So there's this card. This is the body. We need to be able to cohabitate with the person. There's a male and a female on the front, and it's actually really beautiful. It looks more Roman, maybe Babylonian. There's a beautiful moon. There's a couple kind of in the water, and it's pretty gorgeous. So that's depicting the body. Now, for spirit, I'm going to pull one more card, and then I will conclude this reading for universal. I'm getting the cups, the 5 of cups. So the 5 of cups for spirit, this looks like a man praying. He's got his hands in the prayer position, and he looks like a knight in armor. There's cups all around him. Some are full, some are empty and on the ground. So it seems to depict to me that he is losing his resources and he only has a little bit to go, and he's praying for answers. So I think with a lot of our issues, it's good to ask for guidance. What is your deity? What is your way of worshiping? Do you pray to God? Do you pray to the angels? Whatever it is, to ask for guidance from spirit, that this is very important for us spiritually to go ahead and ask for that guidance. We don't have all the answers. We are running out of resources in a lot of ways. I see a lot of soldiers out fighting in the field. I see this as being, some of our soldiers are mothers trying to raise a child by herself, or some of our soldiers in this country or this world or whatever country you're in are soldiers who are just trying to get a job to feed their family. So really think about what it is that you need guidance for, that you don't know what in the hell you're doing about. If you don't know what you're doing, ask for guidance spiritually. If you are hurting spiritually, you ask for guidance. You pray. This is the front of the card. There's the man. It looks like a knight in armor praying. And some cups are full in the back. Most of them are empty and on the ground. So he's looking like he's really, really praying hard for an answer. That's the conclusion of this reading. I wanted to also go into the fact that I have classes that I can teach one-on-one, and I am running a special right now. You can go to my website. It's at the bottom of the screen, AnnaOlsenIntuitive.com, or you can reach me on Facebook, Anna Olsen Intuitive. So I'm so glad that you listened to me today. Go ahead and email me. You can contact me on my website page or on Facebook with any questions. And I just really hope that I can hear from as many people as possible. I also wanted to go into the fact that I definitely do Reiki. I do readings. I also do medical readings. I've been doing those, and those have been going really well. I'm going to conclude my show tonight, and I just hope everybody has a wonderful week. I will see you next time.